It wasn't just Russell Westbrook that commented. It was his wonderful wife. I believe her name is Nina, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I first want to respond to some of the things that she had to say because she had some jabs to throw in my direction. Let me say to Miss Nina Westbrook, by all accounts, a wonderful woman. Nothing changes that. I appreciate her comments more than she realizes. If anybody's expecting me to go at the wife of an NBA player, if you talk about somebody being absolutely defenseless, I'm not going after anybody's wife, anybody's family members, anybody's mamas, or anybody like that. I'm not doing anything like that. I respect them all and I respect her. And I want to applaud her, because guess what? If I get married someday, I'd want my wife to come to my defense like that. My lady, I'd want her to come to my defense like that. I don't care who it is. So I applaud her coming to the defense of her husband. And for anybody out there that thinks that I have a problem with her based on what she said in defense of her husband, I do not. I have nothing but respect for her. She was a basketball player at UCLA, if I remember correctly. She knows a thing or two about basketball. She's also a businesswoman. I believe she's a licensed therapist as well, if I remember correctly. So this is an accomplished woman and a sensational woman by all accounts. And I think everybody should look at her and be proud that she would stand up for her man the way that she did. I know that any woman that's in my life, I would want them to stand up for me. So I applaud her for that, and that's all I have to say in regards to what she had to say about me, because she is no fan of mine, and based on my comments yesterday, I don't blame her. Having said all of that, respectfully, it does not matter to me. I stand by everything that I said yesterday. And what I would ask her, and I would ask Russell Westbrook, I would ask friends of Russell Westbrook's, teammates, contemporaries of Russell Westbrook, people in the NBA community or whatever, I would ask everybody to go back and look specifically at what I've said about Russell Westbrook, not just yesterday, but his track record. What did I say about his track record? This is a sensational athlete, the most athletic point guard in the history of basketball, destined for the Hall of Fame. I said all of those things. But you've come up short. You were with Kevin Durant when you had a 3-1 lead, and you lost it to Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors being up 3-1. Kevin Durant departs. We got on Kevin Durant for leaving you high and dry. The next 3 years, you get bounced out in 5 by James Harden in Houston. You get bounced out in 6, if I remember, by Donovan Mitchell. You get bounced out in 6 by Damian Lillard, who not only dropped 50, but waved goodbye to you after hitting that long 3 over Paul George. That's what happened. Then you go to Houston last year, and what happens? You fall in the playoffs, albeit to the Lakers. That's what transpired. And now you're in Washington, D.C., with Bradley Beal as your, somebody turned down because they got an echo in my ear, I'm sorry. But now you're teammates with Bradley Beal in Washington, D.C. You're 13 games under 500, and everybody wants to talk about your numbers. What I was saying, Mrs. Russell Westbrook, along with Mr. Russell Westbrook, is that you've been so phenomenal with the numbers. We don't care anymore about the numbers. We know what you can do. You won a league MVP, averaging a triple-double. The first time that was done since Oscar Robertson did it in 1962. You're averaging a triple-double now. That particular season you won league MVP, you registered like 42 triple-doubles in a season. We know what you can do with the numbers. What about the chip? What about the championship? Because you've been to 4 conference finals. Now, if this was Zion Williamson, we praising the numbers. If it was Luka, we praising the numbers. If it was somebody that never was on a championship caliber team, we gonna praise the numbers and lament the fact that he's got to carry this shoulder all by himself. That is not Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is a man that signed a 5-year, $206 million contract. Russell Westbrook is making generational money, as he pointed out last night. Russell Westbrook is averaging over $41 million a year. And championships don't matter? Really? That's not the culture of basketball I come from. When I think about the culture of basketball, and I think about champions, and I think about those striving for championships, every single Hall of Famer, watch them give their speeches, Freddie, Molly. What do they say? They apologize to their families and friends and loved ones because of their fixation on capturing a chip and the sacrifices they made in pursuit of that level of excellence and greatness. Russell Westbrook makes his money because fans patronize the NBA product, because television networks respond to the fans' insatiable appetite for that product, and they pay the league an exorbitant amount of money, which enables the league to pay the players. You don't do it so somebody could sit back and say, championships don't matter. I'm a champion in life. Who said you weren't? Russell Westbrook from Long Beach, California. Russell Westbrook's from the streets of LA and Long Beach and beyond. Russell Westbrook is as real, as authentic as they get. He gives to his community. He cares about his people. He addresses social justice issues. He gives voices to the voiceless. He's charitable. He's philanthropic. He's by all accounts, a great man, a great leader, a great husband, a great father, a great family man. Russell Westbrook, regardless of his mean and acerbic demeanor at times, is one of the best people, the most real, straight up, authentic people you will ever see in your life. I respect the hell out of the man. What does that have to do with you?
Russ, why is it that if anything, you sometimes do too much, right? Because if your teammates can't do it, you just got to take it upon yourself, because that's how competitive you are. You want to win. You need to win. Now, it's one thing if you were on a team where we look at the roster and go, all right, come on. And it's an imperfect roster. No roster's perfect. But you have, I really believe, maybe for the second time in Russell Westbrook's career, he has a legitimate championship squad around him. 2016, I thought that was a championship caliber roster. They didn't get it done. The Cavs did. The Warriors didn't. Neither did the Thunder. Okay. Now, for the second time in your career, Russ, you got a legit championship caliber squad around you. And so we want to know, how great are you? Can you be one of the central pieces that is so good that you guys win a championship? We're looking at you, not as a role player or whatever, but as a central figure in the nucleus of a potential championship team. Of course there's something to prove, because you don't have a championship yet.
Here's the deal. I don't disagree with you, Max. I just want to go a little bit deeper. In all seriousness, because obviously Russell Westbrook and I have had some differences, and I've addressed that, he's addressed it as well, and everything's cool. Here's the deal. He does have something to prove, first of all, that he can win a championship. Period. There's nothing else left to prove, just to win a championship. And I don't think he meant what he said when he said in the nation's capital a few months ago that championships don't mean nothing to him. He sees plenty of champions who are less happier than himself. I think what we have seen from Russell Westbrook is a guy whose level of sensitivity has been heightened in terms of people creating narratives about him and him sitting back and him no longer sitting back and just taking it. He's going to defend himself, and he's going to fend off those naysayers and some of the things that they may say, myself included, because he believes that anything that comes close to addressing or attacking his character is something that he needs to debunk. I respect that. So I want to sit up there and say on national television, there's no reason nor is there any excuse for us to question the character of Russell Westbrook. The brother gives us 100% every night. He goes out and goes all out every night, plays at 100 miles an hour. He never cheats the game in that regard at all. Okay, and off the court, never gets in any kind of trouble whatsoever. He's a high character guy, all right? So I want to make sure that I'm clear with all of those things that I just said, because it's incredibly important that people understand. My point is...
Do we need a lower third for this, or is it too serious?
Say what?
Do we need the lower third about Russell Westbrook for this,
nope.
Or is this too serious?
Nope, we don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it at all, not when it comes to him. Here's what I want him and all the people who love him and know him personally to understand. We are talking about the game of basketball, not his character, certainly not his character as a man, and the great things that he's accomplishing off the court. Max, I was driving down, I think it was somewhere in Burbank, whatever. I mean, Max, it was like a damn near a mile of stores, and all of them were dealerships in his name. The brother's doing big things. I mean, Russell Westbrook's doing big things, man. And there's a certain audience that he's trying to reach and uplift, and he's doing that too. And he does a lot of things in the community that people don't realize about, and he deserves credit for that. At the end of the day, we come back to basketball. And I'm going to stick to my point about this. When you are that great, as great as he is, I don't want to see you in Washington for a team that's squeezing into the playoffs. So that was 13 games under 500. Now, he can't help that. You want to get the hell out of Houston, you got to go where they sent you. And then ultimately you end up landing where you really, really wanted to land, which is back home here in L.A. wearing a Lakers uniform. Fair enough. But now that you're here and you're an L.A. native, and you start at UCLA, you know what time it is. You know what Laker Nation expects. You know it's about the chip. And you got to go for it. You don't get it, you don't get it. But you really, really, really got to go for it. That chip has to be the priority, more so than anything else. And in the end, when you look at Russell Westbrook, this is what the bottom line is going to be. He's going to the Hall of Fame. We're going to celebrate him one day as one of the greatest players we've ever seen, you know, when you look at what his resume entails. But Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, James Harden, then Victor Oladipo, Paul George, then James Harden again, Bradley Beal, and now LeBron James and Anthony Davis were all teammates of yours at one point in time in your career. It's not a good thing if all of those teammates are people that you had and you don't have one single championship to show for it.
No.
Period. You got to, that has to be the priority. And again, like when he says he has nothing to prove, no, he doesn't. As an individual performer, no, he doesn't. As a Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame credentials, no, he doesn't with any of those things. It's just with one thing and one thing only. At some point in time, when you got those kind of teammates, you got to have at least one chip to show for it.
Let me just say, we're going to miss Russell Westbrook when he's gone.
Yes,
he's one of those guys we're going to, and for all the haters, you're only hurting yourself because you're missing the ride.
Exactly.
We're going to tell our grandkids that we saw Russell Westbrook. He's that kind of player. We want him to win a championship because, almost out of gratitude, most Westbrook fans, because I think fans want it for him more than anyone else. So that on top of all that other stuff, we'll tell our grandkids about him, we can say he was a champion, an NBA champion.
Max, when you say, last point, when you say we're going to miss him when he's gone, you're absolutely right. We're going to miss him when he's gone. But we're also missing him when he's going home in the first round. Because we see inferior players that are playing deeper into their seasons. Now, obviously, it might not be because of them. It might be because of the teammates they have. But I'm saying nobody expected much from you last year because you was in D.C., and we know they didn't have that kind of squad.
Yep.
This team?
Yeah, LeBron and AD.
There are